Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, superstars, legends, we're here for the 40th episode of the B Graders.
40th. Life begins at 40.
So they say.
Or ends.
Ends. Or 50, I'd like to say now. Maybe even 60. 50 if you ask Andy Brearley, away riding a 7-day
tour. Hey, well done,
tour.
Andy Brearley. He's off doing 7 days. 2 stages down. He's got the green, the yellow, the polka dot jersey already. 5 stages to go. And he's got another race. Mate, why wouldn't you? Enjoy the hell out of that. Tour de Lana, I think it is.
I don't know. Somewhere in Thailand. He's having a great time.
He's a Thailand rock star.
He is a Thailand rock star. Mate, there's been a little bit happening.
We have just... Cycling is all over social media. It's like the Tour de France is on in December. The metre matters rule, I tell you what, it came into fruition on the 30th of November.
Yep, it was the 30th of November.
And it has had more airplay than anything else. So we thought we'd just chat about it because bike racing is boring.
And there hasn't been much.
Hasn't been that much really. Like Peel raced at Pinjarra the other day, as per usual. Peel always put on a bike race.
And they're always a good bike race.
Always a good bike race. And had loads of kids down there racing at Peel actually, which was great to see, all the little tackers. But the metre matters rule, we want to hear from you. We're going to talk about it a little bit now. Is it right? Is it wrong? Did we need it? What needs to happen to it? Are the car drivers got a point? Do cyclists need to pull their head ins? Or do local councils need to stop putting stupid median strips in?
Median
big trees in the middle
of the road. What happens when a car hits a tree, man?
Well, you just have to get rid of trees.
Trees,
get rid of
break
trees.
Cars.
You know what happens when a surfer gets eaten by a shark?
Oh, you don't do anything to the shark. It's their natural environment.
Natural environment. So do you kill the sharks or do you stop ban surfing?
I for one would kill the sharks, but then that's just me.
That's just us. We like swimming without sharks, but you don't ban surfers, do you? So
no,
anyway,
you don't. So anyhow,
what's your
my thoughts? I like the metre. I like the metre rule. I think it's a good rule, but I say that with a caveat, Matt.
A caveat.
A caveat.
Can you explain to the audience what a caveat is?
It's an exception, or it means I like it, but. And the but is this: you've got to be sensible. If you're riding along Mounts Bay Road and there's a beautiful bike path there, and there's a couple of you, and you're riding and chatting, why would you ride on Mounts Bay Road? Which I see people doing all the time when I'm riding on the bike path. If it's peak hour traffic, why would you ride two abreast and hold up people trying to get to work? It's called consideration, ladies and gentlemen, and if we require drivers to give us consideration and be courteous to us and treat us as road users, we must also do the same to them. That means things like not scooting up the inside of cars at lights and standing in front of them at the lights. It means not going through a red light when when it's busy traffic and so forth. It just means obeying the road rules yourself, being a courteous road user, and then you can go on all you like about how you got to give us a metre, and they should give us a metre. They should give us a safe passing because 2 tonne of metal, between 70 and 120 kilos of flesh. Well, the flesh ain't winning. So, but don't put yourself in the position where you're going to have a confrontation.
I agree. Like with a caveat.
With a caveat.
Listen,
it's a big word you learned.
I don't know. It is. That's why I had to ask the question. But riding two abreast down Mounts Bay Road, I've seen riders riding up Mounts Bay Road into the city during peak hour, like on the other side of the road into the sun. I'm like, oh, there's no need to do that. Like the lazy cyclist is the cyclist that doesn't take the time to find the bike path closest to them. If there's no bike path, and when I say closest to them, a couple of kilometres is a close bike path. Okay, it's only another 5 minutes on your journey. However, don't get us wrong. We're not here to bag us cyclists.
I'm going to bag some because some
bag one or two, obviously. Now, I'm not going to sit here and bag bunch rides because there's loads and loads of bunch rides that go out pre 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning and use roads like Mounts Bay Road and down the coast, and we all know the rides that we're talking about. The reason we came up with these rides in the first place, whether they're made up from the old pappers because that's what the America's Cup team did once upon a time when they did a lap and that's how the ride started. These rides don't just exist in Western Australia, they exist everywhere in the world. You ride in a big bunch of guys to protect yourself from cars.
And those
the idea being if you have a big enough bunch, the cars have to give you room. Now, unfortunately, those bunches are also the same bunches that give us a hassle when we're on our own in ones and twos. I'll tell you one thing that really annoys me, and this really annoys me. This gets my goat.
Oh, have you got a goat?
No, somebody got it. Somebody got it, and now it's gone. Everyone's been called a cyclist. Now, with cyclists, I consider myself a bike rider.
I'm a bike rider.
Okay, I'm a bike rider. I'm not a cyclist, because when you hear about a cyclist getting hit or a cyclist doing something, you see somebody, and as far as I'm concerned, they're not cyclists either. Some bloke or some chick or some little kid riding a bike gets called a cyclist. You know what I'm saying? So you hear about a cyclist getting hit on a roundabout. It's somebody who's on a $200 or $300 mountain bike,
Going to work
or coming off a curb because they're not that experienced at riding a bike. A person riding a bike is not necessarily a cyclist. A person riding a bike is just that. It's a person riding a bike. They don't necessarily have the skill level of riding that bike to be able to handle traffic in the first place. I think there has to be a line drawn in the sand. I love the advert on TV. Love him or hate him, Dennis Cometti. I actually love him. I think he's one of the greatest commentators of all time.
Like he does a cork in the ocean.
Like a cork in the ocean. I don't know, you know the best Dennis Cometti line?
What?
Don't argue with an umpire. Arguing with an umpire is like teaching a pig to sing. In the end, you'll just upset the pig. But anyway, he does a fantastic advert where it could be Cometti on the bike, and that's the point. He's not a cyclist.
It's just
He's just a bloke riding down the road. We have to give people the room, but don't let us fall into the trap of bike riders thinking that we are cyclists and getting picked on all the time. It is anyone on the road. People are getting abused. We're riding on the bike path the other day. We got abused by a car. We're on the bike path.
I know, it's funny that.
It wasn't even a bike path, dual use.
Dual use. And you've got to be careful of the other people using the dual use. But going back to your point of the big bunches, they are the ones who shouldn't be on the dual use paths.
That's
they should
exactly
be
right.
using the big roads. But then again, as you said, they don't run generally in peak hour.
Exactly.
There's a couple of exceptions on a couple of days during the year, and they're sort of traditional rides that a lot of people ride. Sometimes they're dangerous, and you make your choices as to whether you ride them.
That's right. And like, you know, we live near Wanneroo Road, Main Street and around there. Dual carriageways, very, very busy. I see a number of lycra-clad cyclists. I see a number of
non-lycra
clad bike riders riding on these roads. I don't see why. I really don't see why. I have this argument that comes back to me all the time saying, oh yeah, but the northern suburbs bike paths aren't that good. And okay, they might not be that good for a 23mm tyre. Maybe you should be a gravel grinder to commute to work with a 28 or a 30. Maybe you should be on a mountain
I
bike.
tell you what, they're much better then. Getting hit by a car.
Getting hit by a car.
I've ridden them. They're not the southern suburbs bike paths, which are magnificent.
Exactly.
But they are perfectly serviceable. They're easy enough to ride on. They go from the city through past Joondalup very easily. No need in peak hour to ride on a main artery.
Here's one thing. The metre matters rule is in there. If you live in a suburb that has very narrow roadways, it's sometimes we need to be going back to our local council and pointing out to our local council, hey, I'm doing the right thing as a cyclist. The car drivers are doing the right thing as a car driver, but there's just no room to be able to get down this street conveniently with two different forms of traffic. Maybe get in touch with your local council. Rather than bagging the car drivers or car drivers bagging cyclists, let's go back to our council and say, hey, perhaps not so much fauna in the middle of the roads.
Yeah, it's not
Give
not
us
a
a
bad
little
idea.
bit more room to ride in the first place. Might not have to have this problem with the meters matters if everyone's got enough room on certain roads. Plus, we do not need to be mobile speed dampeners for cars as we go through roundabouts and so forth. Look up the rule book. Only one vehicle at a time through a roundabout. Best thing is here, we're trying to keep everybody safe. We don't want to see any more of our
I
friends
think
get
there's
hit by a
really
car.
one rule we all need to follow, and that is don't be an arsehole.
Don't be an arsehole. And if you've got an opinion,
Matt1@iinet.net.au. Tell us we're wrong.
tell us we're wrong.
We're not.
Tell us
but
your
you can
opinion.
You can tell us we are. Now, Matt, that aside, it's happening.
Midweek mayhem, bike racing on a circuit that has no cars.
Well, gee, where's the fun in that?
Where's the fun in that? No cars. Sign on 5 p.m. tomorrow afternoon at the Midvale Speed Dome, the Criterium course, not the Velodrome. C grade is going to chase D grade for 2 laps. A grade is going to chase B grade for 2 laps. Once they're up, everyone's in for the finish. 2 separate races. Okay, C and D,
Be there.
A and B.
Be there, be square. Equally importantly, this week, Nangara, the Ring Series,
First round of the ring
it's on. You got to nominate online
by Thursday night.
by Thursday night. B Graders almost, if not already, sold out.
B grade, and Matt told me he's riding B grade.
Jeez.
I'm actually riding C
I
grade.
maybe should have ridden C. Who knows?
You might still be able to get into C.
Might be able to.
Anyway.
We'll see. But
Hey,
anyhow, get out there, have a race. Vets Cycling Council got a road race at Chidlow, as do ATA have a time trial at Chidlow. It's going to be busy at
So
Chidlow.
that will be a big weekend at Chidlow. We will see you next week for episode 41. We would like to say thank you to the studio audience and happy birthday to Kimberly Pointer, my lovely wife. We're off to buy a Winnebago because we're running away. So
Winnebago.
Winnebago? I'd like to win a bagel. Bit hungry.
You love a bagel.
I love a bagel.
See you later, guys.
See you, bye-bye.